I had my vaccination last weekend.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
first one, yeah.
First one?
Yeah.
And which one?
It's the Sinopharm one.
Okay.
Absolutely no side effect.
No side effect. Hi everybody, welcome to a new episode of Smart Talk. My name is Stefano. Before starting our show, please remember to subscribe to our channel. Today we will talk about vaccination, and I'm very honored to have with me two guests. They are Mr. Anthony Wu.
Yeah, I'm Anthony Wu, and I'm the chairman of SDC, which does a lot of the COVID-19 testing in Hong Kong. I used to be the chairman of the hospital authority in Hong Kong that runs all the public hospitals, and currently I'm the chairman of China Resources Medical Group Limited.
Dr. Chen Wei.
My name is Joey Chen. I'm the founding director of the University of Hong Kong AIDS Institute, and it's also part of the state key laboratory of emerging infectious diseases. And my primary research field is on HIV, but with recent COVID-19, we are also heavily engaged for this disease research.
Since the rollout of vaccination in different countries, we have seen reports of post-vaccination death, which arouse doubts on the COVID vaccine. Recently, the efficacy of China's Sinovac changing from 78 to 50.4% due to the method of calculation has also caused a big stir. And the approval rate of the WHO on vaccine was set at 50%. Is it too low?
Well, I think whether it is low or high is a matter of relativity. So we have to ask the expert.
I think your question is touching on two fundamental important issues on vaccine development. One is the safety, the other is efficacy. So the safety issue, talking about the recent deaths, certainly raises a very big issue in terms of the vaccine, whether it's safe or not, especially among elder people. Up to now, actually, this is still an open question. And as a scientist, I have to say we have to wait for the real research data, look into the cause, potentially, whether it's the vaccine-induced death or not, right?
Okay.
So this needs to be really carefully studied. And then in terms of the vaccine efficacy drop from higher percentage to a lower percentage, I think based on the data released, we can say it's related to how they evaluate the vaccine efficacy. If you include the different subpopulation of the people receive the vaccine, you may get different results.
Okay.
But for this particular vaccine from Sinovac, personally, I'm really looking forward to see their formal released data, especially from the phase 3 trial.
Look, when we hear all this news from Brazil, 70 to 50, and then Turkey, how does this work in the world of vaccine?
I think this is fundamentally important because, for vaccine development, there's 3 phases of evaluation, right? Actually, before that, there's also a preclinical study, basically working animals. So once the vaccine enters the human trial, that means this particular vaccine itself is supposed to be safe in animals. So that's done. Then when we start the human trial phase by phase, the phase 1 is basically a small number of the people join the trial to tell whether there's some very big toxic issue that's safety related. So then if there's no much problem, then we go to a higher population, talking about several hundred of people receiving the vaccine. At this stage, we want to see whether the vaccine is working or not in terms of inducing the certain level of antibody or T-cell immunity for protection. So then if they satisfy this immunogenicity evaluation, now the phase 3 is really about the efficacy. That's the percentage you mentioned earlier, right? This involves thousands, sometimes more than thousands of individuals, right? Then you have to be very careful about the gender difference, the age differences, and also the people with or without underlying diseases. So you need to look into every aspect. Although the overall goal is for efficacy, but at the same time, we also look into the safety issues.
How to ensure the safety of the process of this kind of vaccines?
It has to rely on all the tests I just mentioned, then we have to test, so that we have scientific evidence that data can help us to ensure it's safe or not.
Looking in the media, we hear different reports on the Sinovac one. Do you expect there will be big difference between the official phase 3 or part of the phase 3 results and all these hearsay reports from Brazil, Turkey, or wherever?
Even the final data released, if it's based on the study in Brazil, we still do not have a clear answer for whether how this vaccine will behave among Chinese population, right? So the genetic background might also be different. So therefore, we have to be very careful about the case-to-case situation and have to basically respect the scientific data generated during the trial. Otherwise, we cannot speculate.
Before Sinovac sends the vaccine to Turkey or Brazil, they would have done phase 1, phase 2, and part of phase 3 in a controlled environment, meaning the efficacy, the safety. So they should have some
I think because this is based on the regulatory agency, they have very stringent rules in terms of monitoring and also guide the clinical trials. So actually, after each phase of the clinical study, you need to report the data to the regulatory agency, then get approval for the next phase.
I see.
So therefore, if the final data come out, seeing this is generally very safe, I will feel very comfortable to see this is very safe, right? Otherwise, we cannot purely based on what we hear from somebody talking, then it's certainly not scientific based.
Each country has a national regulatory authority, and it may be guided by different regulations, although the vast majority of them follow international agreed parameters.
And could you compare the 3 vaccines purchased by the Hong Kong government?
I think it's very difficult to make a comparison at this stage, as Dr. Chen has just said, lack of sort of official data. If I look at it from a layman terms of view, if some vaccine has been done in other parts of the world, and if they have done 20 million with not many significant problems, then it looks okay. Look at it from another angle. It's what we call the universal usage. As Dr. Chen has just said, like the Norway one, the elderly people died. And we do need to look at each individual case.
I totally agree. Basically, each of the vaccine use different platform of technology. And the Sinovac one is the most traditional one, basically the inactivated vaccine, using the virus themselves as the vaccine, right, after kill the virus, right? But the other 2, actually, one is very new. And this type of vaccine never entered human population use before. We really do not have a solid safety data for like a short-term use or long-term use. But now we have a few months use, right? We know it's so far so good. But once people asking me, how about the long-term implication? I have
5
no
years
answer.
from now, you don't know.
We don't know. This is purely new. In terms of the safety, there's 2 layers. The first layer is the vaccine itself. After we receive this, causing any trouble immediately or not. The second, actually, in my opinion, is more important, is after we receive the vaccine, once we encounter the real virus, what happened to the people who received the vaccine, right? So based on the phase 3 data released for some of the vaccines, we know that we are talking about the vaccine is very effective for preventing the symptoms. The efficacy is based on the symptom reduction, but how about the reduction of real infection, right?
You mean really killing the virus?
Yeah, but preventing the virus establish infection in the body. So that's the ultimate ideal vaccine, right? The standard 2-dose, actually the efficacy only 3.8% for preventing the asymptomatic infection. So that means the vaccine, in terms of reduce the severity of the disease, probably is a major advantage at this stage, but not really very effective to prevent the infection per se.
I see.
But
Yeah.
as long as a vaccine is approved, for example in Hong Kong, because there are 3 approved vaccines,
Yeah.
people shouldn't be worried about like taking like one or another one, correct?
In theory, yes.
Yeah.
If you,
Yeah.
I mean there are
Yeah.
various committees, right? The scientific
I
committee
think,
and whatever, expert,
yeah.
looking at evidences or results and approving it. So to me, if the government approves it, then that would be quite safe.
Yeah. I think the government already formed this special committee.
Yeah.
And if you look at the members in the committee, they are actually having many top experts working on vaccine or different issues related to the vaccine, right? Here is another layer of the issue I want to emphasize, because the demand of the vaccine is very, very high, right? So now if you look at all the producers, they are actually short of supplies already.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. So now it's a very, very important issue. How are you going to make sure every single batch of the vaccine being produced maintain the highest quality as the first batch, basically?
Yeah.
Similar to the batch already finished the phase 3 trials, right?
Yeah.
I think this is really the duty for this committee to judge.
And then the other thing is, to me, I'm still very confused. Is you need 2
Doses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that is quite different from the normal
Yeah.
the flu vaccine that we take. Is there a particular
Yeah.
reason because of this COVID?
Yeah, I think this is actually related to how the vaccine would lead to the efficacy, right? So based on all the current data, so far we realize twice vaccination are essential for inducing certain level of protective antibodies.
Okay.
The reason for that is really we want to establish certain level of the protective antibody in vivo. So if it's too weak, then the protection may not last long.
I had my vaccination last weekend.
Oh.
Yeah, my
You
first,
did?
my
You
first one.
already
Yeah,
received the first one?
yeah.
And which one?
It's the Sinopharm one.
Okay.
Absolutely no side effect.
No side effect.
And felt absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
not even painful.
Yeah.
No, I did mention about like this 2 doses because there are some countries like in the UK,
Right.
since now they have the new mutation,
Right.
that they are trying to vaccinate as many people as they can with their first dose.
Mhm.
But then about the second dose, they still don't know when the people will receive it.
Actually, there's a scientific reason behind it.
Mm.
Why people are talking about at what time you receive the second dose is very, very important. So the scientists may worry if you only receive the 1 dose, your immune response is not strong enough to contain the virus.
Oh.
At the same time, when the virus hit the vaccinees, your existing weak immunity not control the virus, but you are promoting the virus variation or mutation. So that will lead to another issue is the resistant issue. So that's why a lot of scientists are arguing they strongly against postponing too long for receiving the second dose.
So after I
Protection,
take the
yeah.
vaccination, then I should do a test of my antibody, right, every few months
Yeah.
to see I'm still protected.
So far, I don't know whether this is offered or not,
Yeah.
right? But as a scientist, I'm interested.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
of
you want to
course.
donate
your
your
guinea
sample,
pig.
no, not guinea pig. You are actually, we call volunteer to
Yeah.
help the
Yeah.
research,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Help us to find research answers for your question.
Yeah. You say test to find out is the antibody strong enough
Yes.
to fight.
In general, once the people who already been vaccinated and once they got the real virus coming into their body, right? Currently, all the major vaccines finish phase 3 trial. Looks like they can reduce the symptoms.
Good
That's
news.
really good news, right? Because we want to prevent the death.
Yeah.
That's the first priority. So then talking about whether you can completely stop the virus entering the body, so this can be very challenging.
Yeah.
But I think that's why we are doing research. We try to find what's the best way to do so.
And how to respond to people who still think that the COVID-19 is man-made in laboratory, for example.
So far, I think there's no doubt about it. Actually, this is a consensus by general scientific community, right? This is a new virus, right? So new virus means we have no record of this particular virus in human history before it pop out, right? If you want to man-made this, you have to have the essential information of this virus somehow recorded somewhere, right? But so far, we haven't found this. And the closest virus found, actually this is reported by Wuhan Institute of Virology and isolated from bats, right? So then the similarity compared with the deadly virus and this bat-derived virus, they share about a 96 also identity, basically. There's still like a 4% differences. But I can tell you what the 4% means. If we compare our genome with monkeys, we actually about 97% identity. Can we say monkey is human? This is as simple as this.